Good evening. My name is Stephen Kinsella, and I'm the co-director of the new Immersive Software Engineering degree. It's really, really exciting to be talking with you tonight. Thank you all to everyone who signed up and who has joined us this evening. We have a very, very interesting and information-packed hour for all of you. The running order looks a bit like this. We're going to meet the ISE team and our guest speaker tonight. We're going to talk through with Tiziana Margherita, our Professor of Software Systems and the co-director of ISE, what ISE is, how you can apply for it, all the things that you will be able to do on the course. Then you're going to learn from the head of residencies, JJ Collins, who's here with me in studio, about the residencies, the 5 paid residencies that are part of the course. You'll learn about who you'll work with, the amazing companies we have on the roster of partners for this course. And then we'll hear from Dr. Patricia Scanlon. Trish is the founder of Soapbox Labs, which is a truly extraordinary company. And we're very, very proud that she's not just a member of the ISE group, but she's also a member of our industry advisory board. Finally, we'll have an opportunity to do a questions and answers session where your questions will be answered by us live. So if you have a look at the Microsoft Teams app that is there, you'll be able to see a little question mark and a bubble on the top right-hand side of the screen. If you click that, type in your questions, we'll either answer them here in studio live with you, or we'll keep them and we'll answer them in writing afterwards. So please, if you have a question, just put it in. Even if we don't get to it now, we'll get to it later. So a little bit about the team. Tonight, the next person you'll be hearing from is Professor Tiziana Margherita, our Professor of Software Systems, ISE's course director, and my fellow co-director. You'll be hearing from JJ Collins, who's our head of residencies. JJ is a lecturer in computer science and an expert in AI. And then, of course, there's myself, not a computer scientist, don't play one on the internet, but I have a genuine interest in this course and I'm very excited to be part of it. And finally, you'll be hearing, as I said, from Dr. Patricia Scanlon. So let's get straight into it, and let me start by asking Tiziana to take us through the main elements of the course. And if you're ready, Tiziana, please take it away.
Okay, so thank you, Stephen. It's fantastic to have this evening with the very first seminar webinar for our LM173, Immersive Software Engineering. Okay, my name is Tiziana Margherita. I'm the academic course director. And the first question that we typically receive is, why should you choose ISE? There are so many courses. What is special in this one? Well, it is a special occasion for turning curious, creative people that have that are engaged, that love, in one sense, so to say, to use technology, but also to produce technology in order to change the world, to get them together and spend 4 years together, actually learning and doing at the same time. So in reality, you're going to become software engineers, but software engineers of a very different kind. Software engineers are a very, very pliable and flexible, so to say, professional material. You can be a software engineer everywhere in the world. You are at the basis of any application domain. Now there is nearly nothing that runs without software. Software is everywhere. And so it is a very, very, how could I say, future-proof and interesting career. If you're going to join LM173, you're going to actually spend time on campus, spend time in residencies, off campus, in companies. You're going to learn actually from the best. The best in terms of education and research in the time that you are going to spend on campus, and the best experiences with a selection of residency partner companies that we already have. So in the next slide, we can see actually what are the specific innovations that are embedded in the ISE domain. Okay, the shape is different, the feeling is different, the environment is different, the collaborations are different. Okay, so just imagine a course in which you learn by doing, learn in a fantastic studio, working on projects, you know, so that whatever you do is immediately relevant. You're not sitting in lecture halls, basically never during the entire time that you have with us. You're never going to experience an end of term exam just because we are going to have all the time continuous assessment on projects and other tests that are taking place while you're learning. You have an accelerated experience, intensive experience, because you get not just a bachelor's, but a master's qualification in 4 years, or actually a bit less than that. You spend half of the time learning with the best teachers and lecturers and researchers on campus in this situation, but half of your time is spent in companies, being paid, okay, in what we call residencies, to solve problems, to be treated as a professional from basically the end of the first year, and really changing the world. So these are the essential traits of ISE. If you're going to move to the next question, next slide. Okay. It is a new way of learning. You could basically be any kind of profession, so to say, a doctor, a teacher, anything, so to say. But if you consider software engineering as a career, you have a new way of learning software engineering through ISE. The students of the world's top, let's say, computing degrees, they spend some whole. If you're doing it actually in our context, you're going to have a combination of classes in a dedicated studio, and instead of basically learning from books and learning from the experience of others, you're going to build actually your own experience in problem-based learning together with researchers, together with lecturers, so to say. So the things that you cannot learn in the classrooms of any type, even with this new pedagogy, so to say, are in the residencies. And looking at the next question, you're going to learn software engineering basically by doing it. The residency concept is really, really powerful because it goes actually beyond the traditional co-op model that has been already very successfully introduced by UL. Okay, so you're going actually to do something in the real profession, more or less like you would be used to do if you were a medical student, where you, at the end, in that case of your studies, you're going to spend time in the hospitals or in a professional setting, so to say, where as a trainee you are actually applying the theory and in contact with patients in the real world, okay, with supervision of real experts. In our case, it is the same, only that we are embedding it already in the course of the program. So it's not that you're studying all the time and then you go out, you study and go out, study and go out, apply and so on, back and forth. The best way of learning software engineering is in this kind of combination, where you have the foundations and the basis, so to say, in the classroom or in the studio, as in our case, but in particular, you have the application and the verification of what it really means to use the skills that you have learned in the projects, in the companies, really. The important thing is that you're going to have 5 residencies, okay, 3 to 6 months long each one. They are paid. So you're going to spend in reality half of your time, basically nearly 2 years, okay, already doing professional work. Through the degree, you're going to have time between the blocks campus and residencies. And in the companies, you're going to actually be immediately from day one part of their teams. We are going to hear later, so to say, from Trish Scanlon, how that works in Soapbox and what is the expectation that residency partners have actually from our students. But be sure we are working hand in hand to actually create the best possible experience for our student. And the idea is basically that you're going to experience not just one, like in the co-op case, but many such realities. Basically, being able to contribute already as a student in different verticals, in different domains, in collaboration with our residency partnership companies. In the next slide, we are going to talk about the entry requirements for LM173. Well, you need to pass, of course, the living certificate and probably to pass it relatively well, okay? If you are from abroad or whatever, any approved equivalent, of course, is good as well, okay? The criteria are there, a minimum of 2 H5 and 4 O6 or 4 H7 grades, so that's pretty standard. For the subjects, the minimum that you need to have is an H4 in mathematics, okay? If you don't have H4 because, for example, you don't take the mathematics as a honor class, there is going to be the meanwhile traditional UN special mathematics examination in August, okay, so that you are able actually to catch up with this. But the most important novelty is a portfolio. In LM173, it's not enough, so to say, to have good grades. You also have to show that you are the right kind of person for this kind of a program. A person with initiative, a person with curiosity, a person that is creative, okay, in connection possibly with technology. So there is going to be a portfolio. It's not a big amount of work that you have to do for that. It is actually kept simple, but crafted in such a way that is indicative of the kind of characteristics that you bring and the kind of traits that you are bringing into the program. So it is a portfolio of created work, a written statement, and you may then be called also for an interview, okay? The examples of the actually how you found the path from a problem to a solution. So basically problem solving with some kind of technology use, okay? And in the written statement, it is basically a demonstration of the fact that you are able to be successful and to thrive in a program like this one, okay? There are going to be some more webinars or workshops, so to say, later on. Your portfolio in the right way, okay? And if we move to the next slide, this is probably the most important one, okay, that is demonstrating and bringing together everything I said so far. You are going to have a master in 4 years, actually a little bit less, as we see here. If you are looking at the structure of every year, it is a relatively intensive year. You're going to work all over the first and second semester, but also all over the summer. The parts that you see in red are the holidays, so you're still going to have holidays, but you can basically consider the load equivalent to full-time work that you would have then in reality later in the profession. You're going to have an alternation of academic blocks and residencies. So what you see there in yellow or light orange are the blocks. A block is different from a normal module in the sense that it is more compact and it contains a combination of subjects that are actually taught and experienced together. So the integration and the relevance are very important. And after, for example, the first 4 blocks which are on campus in studio, you're going to start with the residency program, okay? So there are alternations, as you see, of residencies and blocks. At the end of the 3rd year, you're going to basically finish the LM173, the bachelor, and immediately continue in the master segment. This is a consecutive bachelor-master program. So actually you continue from one program into the next so that the effective grade that we wish you to achieve at the end of this study career is the Master of Science. Okay. In order to talk a little bit more about the residencies, I would hand over now to the only head of residencies in the world. He's the first and only one, JJ Collins.
Thank you very much for that, Tiziana, and I'm delighted to be here this evening with you. And a reminder, if you have any questions, please throw them into the chat box. We look forward to having a discussion with you afterwards about that. So my name is JJ Collins, Head of Residencies for Immersive Software Engineering. I lecture machine learning and software architecture, but just briefly, first language I was introduced to was BASIC back in the days when there was only one TV channel. We used the abacus as the runtime for any programs we developed, but I was immediately captivated by the fact I could create solutions or solve problems that would have taken me days and weeks using pen and paper. And ever since then, I've been working in software engineering, currently looking at Python and TensorFlow, etc., and microservices with Java. Enough about me. So one of the key innovations we introduced was residencies, motivated by what we see as the best practice in other disciplines such as health sciences, medical education, nursing, doctor, teacher education, etc. And also if you think of accountancy and the legal fields. So there, when asked or tasked to introduce some innovations, residencies what popped into our mind straight away, and we designed, after a lot of consultation with industry and other in the academic community, 5 residencies. So as Tiziana said, 45% of the course, but the really great feature of it is that you're paid while you're out with companies learning by doing. You'll be matched with industry hosts. We're working on a very complex matching algorithm, and it'll be ready in time. You'll rotate across hosts and sites. So we want you to learn to be adaptable and flexible. This is really important part of the graduate attributes you need when working as a professional. Each residency has very specific learning outcomes. So there are 5 residencies. For example, the first is you'll be working in small feature sets in teams. The second, where you'll be tasked with taking ownership for a larger feature, and the nature of the ask on you will be increased. The third is customer focused. That could be user interfaces or developing APIs for consumption. The fourth, software architecture and design, and the fifth is a research and development residency. So you start the residencies at the end of year 1. And just to remind you, many academic residencies in third level institutions, it's a once-off placement in year 3. University of Limerick pioneered that concept, but we've extended it across the full 4 years of the integrated BSc MSc. You'll be embedded in an agile team for day 1 within the host company, which we refer to as residency partners, and we have some really cool companies on board to talk about that in a minute. You'll be guided by technical experts in your residency partner. You're part of a team and you'll be working side by side with them on an hourly basis, but you will stay connected with us. You'll be required to produce seminars, and that will require discussions and conversations with the ISE faculty, and also we have an industry coordination team who touch base with you to make sure that everything is progressing as planned. So we have a few. Here we have some examples of the 40+ residency partners, and these are incredible companies, and the creativity that they bring to the domain they're working in. I'm just overwhelmed, really, and we'll take a few examples of that. I'd like to shout out at this point in time to each of these residency partners. Their contribution has been it's just incredible, and the thoughts and the suggestions and some of the solutions they brought to us, incredible. So we have a few quotes here from people who really know software engineering. They're world experts, incredibly intelligent people, incredibly creative, and these are the role models that inspire us. So the first is from John Collison. I'm sure all of you have heard of him, and if not, do look him up. Co-founder of Stripe. Stripe, 7 lines of code that have changed the internet. They've democratized the internet and allowed small businesses, individual traders, NGOs, etc., to act or to operate on the internet at a very low cost. So John's quote is, "The immersive software engineering program will be the most comprehensive an accelerated program of computer science education anywhere in the world, and a springboard for the brightest young minds to achieve great things. Those are incredible words from John. Another quote, this is a phenomenal way to learn skills you need to build the next Instagram. And that's Mike Krieger from Instagram. And then we have a quote from Laura Sapingo, who's an aerospace engineer, a recent graduate, and she's a member of our Young Advisory Board. And Laura says that the ISE programs focuses on challenging and innovative methodologies, allowing students to acquire necessary skills for their future career through an enriching experience. So now we'll just have a quick look at some of the residency partners, and there on the left, I'm not going to go through this exhaustive list. I really would like to have a separate webinar to do so, because amazing work being done. Stripe, 7 lines of code that have changed FinTech and having a wider impact on the next. Next we have Analog Devices. They have a location down here in Limerick. Traditionally, they produce computer chips, but now with the Internet of Things, and they're really becoming a company that's operating in digital societies and digital space. We have a company there, Provisio, and they operate on autonomous vehicles and detection. A really interesting one, Mana Aero. This is drone delivery. Would have been useful for me last night at 10 p.m. when I was ordered to run to the shop. But if you talked to me 3-4 years ago about, for example, drone delivery, I would have said, is this really feasible? And this is the caliber of individual that we're working with. People who see solutions where the rest of us don't even see a problem. They're so far ahead of the curve. I could go through every company in that list, Spotify, etc. If you look on the other side, Viotis, a company out of here in Limerick again, and it's smart grids supplying into the enterprise sector. We have other companies there working on carbon or on green modeling and managing carbon footprints. All these companies providing world-class solutions to really difficult problems that have a huge impact upon society. So next, we're just going to briefly.
Well, I think next we'll probably talk to Trish, to Dr. Patricia Scanlon. So I think one of the most exciting companies that we're so privileged to work with, as JJ so powerfully said, like every single one of these companies is world class on its own right. And Trish is the founder and now executive chair of Soapbox Labs, and what they are doing for children using technology is an overused word, but it genuinely is inspiring. So I'd love to hear from you, Trish, just to hear your thoughts on the course, if you were ready to speak.
Yep, hope you can hear me. Really delighted to be here, and I was delighted when Stephen and the guys reached out to ask me to be involved in the industry advisory board for the course. So just give you a very quick background, I'm a software engineer. I've been in the space for nearly 25 years now, and I ended up doing a PhD in speech recognition, and then working in places like IBM Research, Bell Labs, which is now Nokia Bell Labs, before founding Soapbox Labs 8 years ago. And I founded Soapbox Labs from an experience I had myself with my own daughter, watching how little effort had been put by big tech and any tech company into making speech recognition work for children. So Soapbox Labs, 8 years old now, we're 35 people. We're in Dublin. We are 40% female, I'm really proud to say, for a tech company, a deep tech AI company. I think we're really proud of that. We've over 10 nationalities in the company. And what we do is we build our own proprietary speech recognition. So our AI system is built to enable other companies to leverage it and to power their products and services with voice. Right, so we do it in education. So if a company is building a product that's trying to teach a kid to read, teach a kid a new language, whether they're doing assessment, whether they're doing intervention. We're working with companies doing dyslexia screening. We're working with companies for speech therapy, English language learning out in Asia, all types of reading assessments. And we're also now beginning to work more and more in the toy space and play space. So trying to make, can you imagine like immersive engaging experiences where a kid talks to the toy and the toy hears them and talks back. So I've got 2 kids and, you know, they're now 12 and 9, but when I started the company, they were a lot younger, and watching them grow up and watching them how much voice and AI can change their experiences. So the reason I'm really excited to be involved in this course is, you know, getting good quality people is everything. The talent that we have in Soapbox Labs is everything to do with our success today. And I'm always hiring. I'm always looking, I'm always thinking about the future and about how important it is to bring people in to the company, how, you know, people can come and help make the social impact we're doing together with us. So when I think about hiring, it's always difficult. A graduate leaving college with no work experience, it's tough for us to hire because we know there's quite a road for them to go before they can actually be productive members of staff. But I spent a few years out in the US, and it was actually very normal for people to do internships, these residencies every year, right through undergrad or in their PhDs or when they do masters. So most colleges, or a lot of them, were really encouraging or facilitating. Waterloo is a really good example. And I always wanted to hire students from there, but we didn't have that. We do have some internships, which are great in Ireland. What really intrigued me was the learning on the job in the course and then in the residencies. For us to bring these people into our company, have them being straight away is really important. So what we've done is thought about these residencies, and what we will do is bring in a student. As was said earlier, I think Tiziana said earlier on, they'll be in an agile environment. They'll be surrounded by experts, and what we really want from you guys is that when you leave Soapbox Labs in your residency, you can talk about what you've done. You know, it's a concrete piece of work. You weren't just, you know, logging data or doing something boring. Like, we want you to be able to describe to your future employer, you know, what you did at Soapbox Labs, and we want you to be productive for your career, but also for Soapbox. So we're designing these residencies in order that it's a mutually beneficial thing. We get to know you guys. We get to watch you grow. We get to learn ourselves about what we need in the company. And then just rotate through different groups. So it's really exciting for a company like us to knowing the pipeline is really tough right now. So when you're hiring software engineers, there's not a huge amount of software engineers out there. It's really tough in the world. It's really tough for, I think 60% startups now are struggling to find the right talent. So a course like this coming on, and us being such an integral part of it from the residencies, but we're viewing this not just the residencies, all the way through to watching the students graduate, and for you guys knowing that you can graduate, to be able to walk into an interview and to talk about 5 different residencies. You know, for us doing the interviewing, that's really important, that we have something really concrete to talk to you about, because that's what makes a difference when we're doing the hiring. And it's a pretty exciting space to be in, more so now than ever before. You know, tech is just rocketing for a very good reason. But yeah, I hope that's useful, and happy to take any questions as well. But I'll pass back over to JJ and Stephen there.
Trish, thank you very much. That's I really liked the approach that you had there, where the idea is it is mutually beneficial. You know, the university is being kept on its toes by companies at the very forefront of what is happening. The university is doing really cutting edge research that the companies are able to take advantage of, and then of course the students are having this immersive experience. That's they're immersed in the studio-based learning that they'll do here on the University of Olympics campus, and they'll also have this fantastic in-company experience. So we've got loads of questions that are coming in, and we're going to do our best to answer those as quickly as possible. I think this first question we'll send to Tiziana. So what are you looking for in your candidates for the course?
Well, the first thing is actually initiative. Unmute. Okay. The first thing is actually initiative, creativity, the joy, okay, to discover something new. I mean, the one thing that we know that is actually the standard, so to say, in any kind of part of software engineering, whether it is working more with systems, more with technology, more with customers, or more with other people, is change. The technology changes, the people change, the project changes, the need change, the rules change. So we need actually to have a new generation of software engineers that are familiar with this and are actually at ease with this. We know already that lifelong learning is the reality in tech. This is even more in ISE, and we are espousing this by having actually, problem-based education, which basically lets you face with challenges all the time, and we are going to mentor you actually to master them successfully. Okay, so if you are a person that is from the personality traits, so to say, happy to deal with things that are new, with things that are, let's say, new to you at least. I see.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Tiziana. That was a very comprehensive answer. The next one I'm gonna ask JJ to answer. What can I do once I finish the degree? This is the, where's the beef kind of question. What can you do when you finish this thing?
The easy question. So it would have been easier to ask, what can I not do?
Yeah, good question. Yeah.
So you could work with our residency partners, and I think they'd be very anxious to offer you positions once you graduate with the MSc. And imagine the opportunity of working with Trish and Soapbox. For example, me personally, I'd pay to work for Trish and Soapbox, and she's looking for engineers who are great problem solvers, technically competent and good team players. You could start your own company, and this is something we're very anxious as well to promote or raise on the radar within ISE. This is building up the software ecosphere in Ireland and building up a critical mass of creativity and innovation. You could work for example, in the public service. If you think about the HSE or in the NHS in the UK, these are huge employers that have incredible ICT infrastructure, and the demand for software engineering at the highest skill sets there is huge. You could work for NGOs, philanthropic organizations, etc. You could work within research, for example, pursue a master's or PhD, and then use that as a basis for a research-oriented career in either academia or, more commonly, what we're seeing now is industry. The important thing about immersive software engineering, it's a qualification you can take any place in the world. And the second thing is the compensation. The salary is going to be great, and the benefits, and you'll have a really long and rewarding career. Every day is going to be different, and there's new technologies all the time. It makes every day challenging and interesting.
Yeah, I think that I couldn't agree more, JJ. The only thing I would add, of course, is that you can set up your own company as a part of this. So you don't need just to be somebody's employee. You can actually be an entrepreneur yourself, and probably end up with becoming one of the logos on the list there. Another question: how much programming, and this is for you, JJ, how much programming experience do I need to apply?
I think it's always good to be informed when making a decision. So at least at a minimum to have dabbled in programming, and you don't need to have a teacher at secondary level guiding you in this. There are a lot of online courses. So it's of benefit if you have some experience, but the course is designed to deal or doesn't make that assumption. So again, if you have no programming experience and you're serious in your attempt to apply to us, look at short online courses, for example, in Python or Lua, and languages like that, or JavaScript.
Pretty good. There's some quick ones that I'll be able to answer. Will you be working with one company or 5 companies? The answer is 5. So you'll have a big ability to jump around. Will there be a minimum number of points required to go along with the portfolio, written statement, and interview? The answer right now is no. This is the first of its kind, the first portfolio that we've seen. So we'll be grading you as you come in the door. The maximum number of points you can get is 300 from the portfolio. So what we're going to do is we're going to take your leaving cert points, which you can get up to 625 on, obviously, and then the 300 points from the portfolio, and put them together. How many CAO points would you need to get into this course? The answer here is we don't know. This is a new course, and the CAO is determined by supply and demand. The more people that want to do it, the higher the points will be. This is one for you, JJ. Will you be considering current third level students seeking to transfer to ISE from another related course? What sort of additional criteria might there be for mature students?
Thank you for that, Stephen. So we're not accepting transfers at this point in time into ISE, and the reason for that is because of the block structure. So instead of having a set of subjects which we call modules, 5 of them running concurrently, you have one subject. So this imposes constraints on what we can do with respect to transfers. You can apply through the CEO to enter into first year. So the second question, Stephen, on mature applicants, we're still working through the criteria for mature applicants, but we would expect the same standards that we are looking for in Leaving Cert students. This is a reasonable mathematical competency H4 there. Portfolio, and it'll be subject to an interview in which you need to demonstrate a track record of excellence in what you've been doing since leaving secondary school.
Brilliant. This is a bit of a technical one. I don't have a Leaving Cert qualification. I'm currently completing a QQI level 5 games and app development. Can I still apply for the course, JJ?
You can apply, but it's quite a significant jump from a QQI level 5 or QQI level 5 to a level 8, and the Masters is a level 9. This is a question we need to come back onto because I'm not sure offhand, Stephen, if there are access routes from level 5 into a level 9. I don't think so offhand.
No problem. So if you're if the person who put that question in, if you just email ise@ul.ie with that query, we'll have your email and we'll get straight back to you with our best possible response. There's one question here. I'm just taking the easy ones, folks. How many places will be available on the course? In the first year, we're going to take 25 to 30, and then after that, the number of places will go up significantly. The reason for that is, as we've been telling you, there's all this innovation in the course, and we need to understand how to do it. Start small and then grow from there. Here's one for Tiziana. Hi, in relation to the portfolio, what if you have no experience in making projects relating to technology? What are some examples of work submitted to the portfolio?
Okay, so that's a new experience. The requirement for admission. So also there, I cannot tell you what is the experience that we have, but what I can tell you is that we have quite a comprehensive document published on the website that is detailing the process and also the kind of let's say examples of suitable projects or project areas that you could consider. So definitely what we are looking for is some relation to technology. Technology is not just programming in the sense of coding. It can also be using in a competent and creative way existing technologies that are already around and that you know from other domains. So have a look at that document, okay? We can maybe repost the link if it is possible, okay, with this technology. I'm not in studio, I'm in a different place, okay? That could be useful, but definitely it's not necessarily the case that you have to have programming experience to complete a good portfolio and to be successful, so to say, in your application.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Tiziana. That's fantastic. When will the first portfolio workshop take place, and will it be online or in person? The answer is the first portfolio workshop will take place in December, and it will be online. We also plan some in-person events, but of course we have to see what happens with COVID. Question here for JJ. Could I transfer from my computer science course, LM121, that I am starting this year to this course next year?
What you have to do in that case is reapply through the CEO for entry into first year of ISE.
LM173.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason for that is they're quite different structures. So if you're in second year of LM121, or if you're going to go into second year of LM121, you'll have to go back to the first year of LM173, which is the ISE degree. So this is one for Tiziana. This is a very exciting course. Where did the idea for this course come from, and was it driven by the needs of university?
Of industry, yes, very much. So I can speak from experience, okay, in 3 different contexts. First of all, I've led a company, my own startup, so to say, for a long time. I have been involved in innovative software engineering and computer science education, also in Germany, before coming to Ireland. And here in Ireland, we are talking to companies all the time. I've been head of department of computer science for 5 years before becoming course director of ISE. And what I can tell you is that there are new directions that are not, let's say, the new directions in which industry is going. We are going to be asked all the time, okay, for these kind of directions. And so ISE is actually taking the best of the practices that we have experienced before, the best of the innovation that we've seen coming up around, plus our own experience from all these areas, and we are putting them together in collaboration with industry on the topics that industry is interested in, with the technologies that they are interested in. This is also very connected with research. I mean, I mentioned research a couple of times. I know that it is a scary thing, okay, for some. There is a lot of research going on in Ireland, both in the companies, applied research, and also in the universities and in the research centers, okay? Ireland is punching above its weight, so to say, very clearly in research worldwide, okay? So this combination of the advanced ideas of industry, the needs of industry, and the offer, so to say, of research that we have is at the basis of the conception of ISE. This is also unique. Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you, Tiziana. That's fantastic. A question for JJ now. JJ, is it possible to get in if you do ordinary level maths?
Regretfully, the answer there is no. There's a requirement for a H4 in mathematics, and the reason we have that is that traditionally, or going back historically, computer science was within mathematics department. So if you look at subjects that we have, such as artificial intelligence or data science, there's a mathematical rigor required for some aspects of that. Now, we're not, the mathematics H4, it's sufficient for you to be able to work through and conceptualize some of the theories that will be introduced there. And just to add, for those people who might be struggling a little with maths at second level, I have to confess that I was in the same position, but once I got to third level, all the mathematics I studied, and much more compared to what we find nowadays in computer science, it was, number one, it was incredibly enjoyable, and number two, it was related to what I was studying, you know, computing. It showed me how a deeper understanding of how computation works and the limits and the challenges there.
Brilliant. Thanks, JJ. Next question. If you didn't get into this course, could you do a year in LM118 or LM121 and transfer across? Again, the answer is no. You'll have to go back to first year. Next question. How many people are expected to be accepted into the course next year? I feel like I've said this already. 25 to 30. But after that, the year after, it'll rise to 50 and move on over there. How many spaces? Said that. Will you be distributing the presentation slides to those on the mailing list? Absolutely. Would love to. How many places? JJ, one for you. What are the main programming languages or any languages on the course?
So we have talked to the 40+ residency partners to find out what's the tech stack they use when solving problems, real-world thorny problems. And the findings from that is that Python, Java, some microservices using Spring Boot, some JavaScript, for example, React, and some other scripting languages. But we choose the languages that are best fit to the student cohort to enable them to create really world-class solutions to problems we throw at them, and we're not tied to any specific language. But that's our thinking currently, and that's what it's likely to be.
Brilliant. Thanks, JJ. Are UL going to make reasonable accommodations for people with dyspraxia? And I'll just generalize that question. You know, if you have ADHD, if you have ASD, you know, if you're a student that needs to have an accommodation made for your studies, will we do that? The answer is yes, we absolutely will. You will find a supportive atmosphere in ISE that is designed to maximize equality, diversity, and inclusion, and that's not just in cases of disability. That's across the entire spectrum of equality, diversity, and inclusion. Ehab asks, for you, JJ, do you need to already have experience in programming or need to already know languages like Java, C, C# or Python to be able to be competent enough during the course?
We've referred to this previously. So the course is designed that it doesn't make an assumption about prior programming experience. But then on the other hand, if me personally speaking, if I was highly likely to be offered a place in immersive software engineering and I had no programming experience, the first thing I will be doing during the summer break is doing a deep dive into a language, maybe for example Python. But and also it will help you, I think, to embed a little faster in the first semester, the autumn semester of the first year. But again, as Tiziana and Stephen and Trish have said, the emphasis #1 is on being able to develop, create solutions, problem solve, being able to work in teams, being able to innovate, and then you use technology as a vehicle in order to be able to build and deliver the solutions.
I just love the way you put that, JJ. I think that our philosophy in this course is that the programming is a tool. The languages you'll learn are tools. The point is you come up with the solution and then you use the tool to solve it. So Fintan asks, where are portfolios submitted? And that'll be on the ISE website. Yep. Is there a specific format for the portfolio? Yes, there is. And Tiziana actually already referred to there's a guidance document on our new website, which I hope you will all take a look at. There's a huge amount of detail now there on the site that we just put it up there yesterday for everyone. So please do take a look at that. Here's a question for Tiziana, actually. Will we be working online with our residencies, or will we be working in person with the people at the residencies?
Yeah, I mean, we hope that everything will come back to normal and that we are going to be able actually to move and have the experience in person, on site, on premises. So the immersion in the companies, okay, after the situations that we have to consider. There may be some options, maybe for some remote or partially remote, okay, arrangements. But the idea is really to have you be part of the team, to have you be there, to have you immersed in the culture, in the way of doing things, so to say, of those organizations. And I don't know if in this case, Trish, as a residency partner, okay, maybe wishes to add something to this.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, it's blended, you know, there's a lot of blended approaches now. So, you know, we do value sitting together. I think we're all hoping to get back to the point where we can at least do it in a hybrid way. But yeah, there's a lot of value for to sit with somebody and to learn, for sure.
Thanks, Trish. JJ, is there a word limit to the personal statement, and is there a word limit to the portfolio?
Yeah, there are word limits to both, and the reason is we want you to really think about what are your strengths and be able to sell them highly effectively. So that requires preciseness and conciseness. And if you go to the software-engineering.ie, go to the portfolio, download the portfolio document guidance, and the word limit is there.
Brilliant. And the next question then for you, JJ. Will a basic introduction to coding, like learning a new language, Python, Java, etc., be taught once we join the course, or are we expected to know them beforehand?
They will be taught once you join the course, but this is an accelerated program, so we will be doing a dive into those very, very quickly. But again, the emphasis is on problem solving and abstraction and identifying the salient features. And then, as you said, Stephen, using programming languages as a tool to create or build the solution.
Brilliant. Another question here, and again for JJ. So earlier you said not much work is needed for the portfolio. How much work should be included in the portfolio?
Thank you for that easy question,
I
Stephen.
know it's very much it's angels on the head of a pin, isn't it?
Yeah, or how long is a piece of string? When we're doing the workshops, we'll walk you through this in more detail, but at this point in time, you have to take a step back. You have to go through a process of designing what am I going to create, or what have I already in my catalog or in my existing portfolio that I can leverage? What do I need to add to it that will show me the best possible light? So our guidance on the portfolio is a little abstract, but that was intentional. And it's because we want to give you the space and the opportunity to show yourself in the best possible light. And that requires a bit of thinking and a bit of reflection.
Yeah, I think the Leaving Certificate process is very much a process in rote learning. And one of the things that we're trying very much to get away from is that approach. So we want to see creativity. We want to see you solving a problem in real time, either using technology or not. Like I said, you bring the creativity, the curiosity, and we will do the rest. Will this course have a diversity and inclusion focus in the student selection process? JJ.
Again, thank you for that question, Stephen. So we're strongly committed to ensuring that there's diversity across a number of dimensions. So, for example, a significantly better gender balance, representation in the undergraduate cohort from different socioeconomic communities within Ireland and abroad, and different ethnicities. So our outreach activity will focus on addressing those, but we are strongly committed, and within Immersive Software Engineering, we're forming a working team with industry partners who are incredibly committed to ensuring this. Every one of the residency partners, one of their key objectives through Immersive Software Engineering is to ensure that we are graduating, for example, enough female students that can better represent that perspective in the industry workplace.
Thanks, JJ. That's comprehensive. One for Tiziana now. Would a website displaying your creativity and achievements be acceptable for the portfolio?
Okay, so the usual answer, so to say, it depends. Okay, so technically, we are going to ask you to submit a certain number of words with a certain number of artifacts in a certain web page. Okay, so strictly seen is no. If you consider as one of the artifacts that you are talking about a particular website displaying some kind of problem solving, for example, or some kind of impact to a community, for example, that came out of the fact that you have come up with the idea of creating a website, tackling some problem or whatever, and you can basically build a story around that, then of course it is suitable, even if it is not technically containing coding, so programming in the sense of coding. So this is part of the inclusion that has been mentioned before. We want to have a diversity of backgrounds, a diversity of talents, a diversity of aspirations. Okay, and so the portfolio and showcasing who you are and what you're passionate about, what are your pet peeves in a certain sense. That's part of showcasing this diversity.
Brilliant, thanks, Tiziana. JJ, when does the application process begin? Obviously, we're going to assume that you know when the CAO application starts in January and so forth. JJ.
Yeah, so the first hard CAO deadline, if memory serves me correctly, is 1st of February. And shortly after that, we'll be emailing applicants who've nominated LM173 on the application with a link to submit the portfolio. And likewise, we'll be doing the close of late applications and shortly after that as well with respect to change of mind. So there'll be 3 windows in which you can submit the portfolio.
Fantastic, thanks, JJ. We have about 5 minutes left, folks, so we're going to get very short with some of these answers. But like I said, if we don't get to the questions, we have 55 plus questions in. If you ask more questions, we'll distribute the answers online. So please don't worry about that. Are most of the residencies somewhere in Ireland? Most of them are, but you will have others in Silicon Valley, in Canada, in Ontario. There are many in London. There's a few in Poland. We are becoming, and the number of residency partners is growing every year. So you'll have a reasonable chance of at least one international experience. What are the best subject choices for the Leaving Cert, JJ? Quickly.
I would go with science or STEM.
Good. Are there opportunities to do residency abroad? Yes, there are. Will having some projects on a GitHub be reviewed and be allowed, for JJ now, be allowed to put in the portfolio, as well as increasing your chances of being able to get a seat in the course?
That'll have an impact on the portfolio, but fundamentally it's what problem are you solving and what innovations have you introduced? And also we need to see evidence that you're a team player, you're capable of working in a collaborative environment, because that's all software engineering.
Brilliant. If someone picked LM118 or LM121 for the year 22-23 and then wanted to transfer across to LM173 for year 1, would it be possible? The answer is yes, but you'd have to go back through the CAO. Can students submit project work completed as part of their Leaving Cert for the portfolio? Think specifically of the 4 applied leaving tasks in the Leaving Cert computer science course. JJ.
You can, but you also need to add value to them and show where you were able to innovate on your own without the guidance of a teacher, for example.
Very good. When is the portfolio due?
There are 3 deadlines for the portfolio, and again, if you download the portfolio guidance document on the ISE website, www.software-engineering.ie, you get details there.
With 50-year or Leaving Cert students, would you see that they complete the portfolio in school? Perhaps if they do engineering or DCG, sounds a great course. Yeah, I think that's it. But just it's a repetition of what JJ said already. What we're looking for is that value. One for Tiziana now, because it kind of comes back to the first question we asked. And quickly, if you could please, Tiziana, what character and caliber of person are you looking for to attend this course?
Okay, so definitely not superhumans. Okay, we are all humans in a certain sense. So just somebody with passion and with grit and with initiative and creativity, and some passion also for solving problems with tech. That's important. You don't have to be the king of or the queen, so to say, of programming and coding. You need to have a passion actually for working with people. Software engineering is a very collective, very team-oriented profession. And so in order to prepare you for the profession, you need actually to be open to working with others. So that's the most important trait apart from the capabilities.
Fantastic. Thanks, Tiziana. Okay, we're going to do I feel like there's some yes, no kind of questions coming up, JJ, so we're going to be as fast as we can. Is there any material based on machine learning in the course? Yes or no?
Yes.
Boom. Will there be any web development on the course? Yes, or no? Which would be a better course to do a year before transferring into year 1 of LM173, 118 or 121? One thing is really important. These are amazing courses. LM118 and LM121 are incredible courses in their own right. ISE is not superior to them. It's a different kind of approach. And so we definitely don't want to have give you the impression that there's a better class of course. This is just a different thing. So
can I just add, because Stephen, this question has appeared multiple times. When you say transfer, what's really happening is you're reapplying through the CEO to come into year 1 of Immersive Software Engineering, subject to all the terms and conditions there.
Yes or no? Do you need recommendations for teachers or others for the portfolio?
No.
Is there an additional fee for the master's part of the course?
There will be, yes.
What would the...
Sorry, can I just add about that? We envisage that we'll have a lot of scholarships and financial support available to help reduce the cost for that 1 year.
Yeah, that's a very, very important point. And there are lots of scholarships available for this course and a large amount of financial supports of all kinds. What will the interview process be like? It will not take place in the form of dance because they all shot down my suggestions. It'll probably be online. Is Patch a relevant experience? Yes. You mentioned that the portfolio is worth 300 points. How will these points be awarded based on the portfolio content? I think you kind of answered your own question there. It's based on the portfolio content. Are there scholarships available for international students? Yes. How many Leaving Cert students to international will there be in the 25 to 30 student accepted? We don't know. We have to wait and see. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a man waving frantically at me that we need to stop. We could go on all night, and we will do more of these. We will do more of these webinars. Probably the next one will happen in about 2 weeks. We will send details out through the mailing list. We'll send these slides out through the mailing list, and we will answer all of your questions, well over 60 of them now, coming in if you email us, and we'll definitely put it up on the FAQ. For now, can I just sincerely thank you all for your time this evening. Can I thank Dr. Patricia Scanlon for giving her evening to talk to you tonight about Soapbox Labs and our collaboration. Can I thank Keith Curley? Can I thank Ian O'Keefe? And can I thank all the members of the Computer Science and Information Systems department, particularly the technical staff who work long and hard to make this happen. So thank you very much, and we're very much looking forward to speaking with you again soon. Take care.
Take care.